What if I told you that these flying moths are flying nukes that can also blind and jolt an entire room while providing a void overshield, make you amplified while also gaining a great amount of transcendence energy. So if you're tired of using that cringe combination blow and want to perform in high-end level content while also having a lot of fun, make sure to keep watching until the end of the video. So, without wasting any more of your time, let's get straight into it. Now, before we go any deeper, the two essential exotics that you'll need are Moth Keepers as well as Exos. Now, you guys might have seen a Moth Keeper Exos build with Strand Hunter, but Prismatic makes this even more insane, and we'll get to that in just a bit. But to give you the quick rundown of what Exos is, it's basically a Hive boomer's gun, and you never have to reload with this thing. And as you shoot a target constantly, it gains a quicker fire rate as well. Now, the biggest part about this is that when you get kills with this weapon, it releases moths that will seek targets and will blind them. This blind is considered an arc blind and will actually stun unstoppable champions. On top of that, if you have the catalyst unlock, getting any final blow with this weapon will make you amplified, and being amplified will help make the weapon enrage, meaning that you can shoot even faster. And if that didn't sound stacked enough, this season's artifact mod, Galvanic Armor, gives you a damage resistance equal to 30%. Now moving on to Moth Keeper's wraps, these make your grenades turn into moths. And the effects of these bugs are the same as the Exos ones. And you actually get 2 charges, which they don't really tell you. But the cool thing about these ones is that if they reach an ally instead, or yourself, they'll actually turn into void overshields. So this is just one layer of protection for yourself. But now moving on to the Prismatic subclass, I'm going to be using Silence and Squall. Now to be honest, you can honestly pick any other one, like the new Arc Super to be like some Minato flying regime bullshit. But Silence and Squall also has the ability to stun overloads as well as unstoppables, so it's pretty nice there. Now moving on from that, I might have used Marksman Dodge, but Exteriors doesn't really reload, so I'm just going to use Gambler's Dodge. I really don't care what jump you use, but for the melee, I highly recommend Withering Blade since you get 2 charges of these, but you also can stun overloads with them since they stun, and if you throw both of them, they can freeze an unstoppable champion. Now when it comes to the grenade, it really doesn't matter what you pick since Moth Keepers will always make your grenade arc, so literally just pick anything. Now when it comes to the fragments, we're going to be taking Gunpowder Gamble. Since literally any ability kill or elemental debuff damage or solar weapons will build stacks towards Gunpowder Gamble. And our moths will quite literally kill so many things that it's like you have 3 grenades in your pocket. For the next aspect, we're going to be taking Threaded Spectre. Now the reason I'm taking this is because when you activate your class ability, you leave a shadow clone and all the enemies will start to aggro towards it, making you pseudo-invisible, and in my opinion this makes Stylish Executioner unnecessary since you're basically already invincible. Plus, this gives me 3 extra fragment slots instead of 2, and I like my fragment slots. Now moving on to the fragments, we're going to be using Facet of Dominance. This makes your void grenades weaken and your arc grenades jolt. And if we remember, Moth Keepers makes the grenades turn into arc. So our moths now have jolt with them. So now on top of the blinding, it makes these moths into flashbanging nukes. And then on top of that, we're going to be using Facet of Mending, which makes our grenade final blows cure me. Unfortunately, this doesn't work with your Exteriors moths, but with the moths in your hands, it's like a free chunk of health with the amount of moths you're going to be throwing out. Now moving on to those 2, we're going to be using Facet of Awakening. This makes rapidly defeating targets with light or darkness damage create an elemental pickup matching the matching damage type. Since we're using Exteriors and Arc Moths, we're going to be getting a bunch of Ionic Traces, and in my opinion these are the best ones since they just in general give you ability energy. So we're going to get our grenade, our melee, and our class ability up even quicker. And with the amount of moths we're making, it's just going to be Ionic Trace heaven. Next, we're going to be using Facet of Sacrifice since when we have any light buff, we're going to gain bonus darkness transcendence energy. And since we're always going to have a void overshield and be amplified and radiant at the same time, once we throw that shuriken out into a crowd or something, we're going to gain a tremendous amount of darkness energy. And on top of that, another fragment later will make it 100% every time that this fragment is always proccing. Now moving on from that, our fifth fragment's going to be Facet of Purpose. Now this basically gives you your survivability tool based on the matching super. So since we're using Silence and Squall, we're going to be getting Frost Armor. And I believe this goes up to 40% when you have max stacks. And to be honest with you, I don't really know too much about Frost Armor other than it gives me damage resistance. So if you know more about it, let me know down below how many stacks equal to what amount of damage reduction down in the comments below. But if you want to switch to something like Silk Strike to gain Woven Mail, go for it. And last but not least, we're going to be using Facet of Dawn. Powered melee hits grant Radiant, and the powered melee final blows grant you and nearby allies Radiant, which helps with barriers, and also synergizes with Facet of Sacrifice since the melee hits will make us have a light buff, and a light buff will help us make more darkness energy since this is a darkness ability. Now moving on to the armor, I'm using double Ash as the asset as grenades kill give you bonus super energy, and who doesn't like throwing their supers? I also have an Arc Siphon as another way to make more orbs. Then I have a grenade kickstart on my gloves so that when I have no energy, I get some energy back when I have armor charges, and then the firepower to make more orbs off my grenade kills. And I have a fastball so I can throw my moths like Yao Ming, but you can use something like momentum transfer if you don't like that. On the chest, just use the matching damage type, and for the boots, I have stacks on stacks to get 2 armor charges, invigoration to get more grenade energy on orb pickups, and then elemental charge to get a chance at armor charges from elemental pickups, since we're making so many ionic traces. Then on the cloak, I have Reaper so that when you dodge and get a kill, we make an orb. Then Powerful Attraction to collect the orbs when we dodge, and then Bomber just to get grenade energy when I dodge. For the weapons of choice, I really just use something with Demolitionist in the top slot. Exterius is the spotlight of this build, so obviously use that. And then for the heavy, literally just put on your favorite heavy, it really doesn't matter. And then moving on to the gameplay loop of the build. You can probably guess based on the mods I've chosen how you're going to play this. You're going to throw your grenades, use some Exterius to get some kills. And then I guess if things get pretty hairy, you can dodge and throw the moths at your feet so that you get the Void Overshield. But I mean, the Exterius will blind, and then you can throw your grenade, jolt, and the grenades will both jolt and blind, so they're pretty good for unstoppables and overload champions. So you have 2 of that. And then if you really need barrier, you just throw the shuriken, take care of the barrier, and it can also take care of overload since it slows. So in your melee and grenade ability alone, you can take care of like literally all the champions that you can imagine. I guess the one thing that you can't really double down on is the barriers and unstoppables. So I guess, but depending on whatever season you see this video in, you can literally just put on, for instance, barrier pulse rifle this season or unstoppable sidearm. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this build. I had a lot of fun making it and playing with it. So if you want to share your experiences with the build, let me know down below, or how you adjusted it if you don't really like it how it is now. And if you thought this build was fun, I have a couple other builds on the channel that you might find interesting. Don't forget to like and subscribe so that you don't miss out on any future build videos. And with that being said, take care of yourself, take care of each other. Peace and love, baby.